Dad Perfect Revenge. My daughter Michelle was hosting my late wife's fourth memorial service at our cottage in Muskoka when my assistant Patricia grabbed my arm and whispered, "We need to leave right now. Don't ask questions." I thought she was being dramatic about escaping the crowd until I saw her face. She wasn't joking. My name is Bradley Morrison. I'm 63 years old, recently semi-retired from running a chain of 6 construction supply stores here in Ontario. My wife Susan and I had been married for 35 years when she died in a car accident 4 years ago. We have 2 children, our daughter Michelle, 32, and our son Kevin, 29. Michelle married a guy named Travis Stevens 3 years ago, and they seemed happy enough. Though I'll admit, I never quite warmed to him. There was always something calculating about Travis, something that felt rehearsed. But Michelle loved him, and that was enough for me. Or so I thought. The memorial was Michelle's idea. She insisted on hosting it at the cottage, a beautiful property on Lake Muskoka that Susan and I had bought 15 years ago. "Dad, you've been working so hard since Mom died," she'd said when she called to invite me. "Let us take care of you for once. Just relax and enjoy yourself." It was a perfect September afternoon. About 30 friends and family members mingled on the deck overlooking the water. I was holding a glass of beer, thinking about Susan and how she would have loved seeing everyone together like this, when Patricia pulled me aside. "Come with me," she said quietly. "To the car. Now." "What?" "The service just started. I haven't even given my speech yet." "Bradley?" Her voice was steady, but her eyes weren't. "Trust me, we're leaving." I'd learned in 15 years of having Patricia Rodriguez as my office manager that when she used that particular tone, you listened. She'd saved my business more than once with her sharp instincts and attention to detail. I set down my beer and followed her through the house, nodding at guests as if nothing was wrong. My stomach was churning. What could have happened? We got to the car, and Patricia immediately locked the doors. She pulled out her phone and showed me a screenshot. It took me a moment to understand what I was looking at. It was an email thread between Michelle and Travis. "Read it," Patricia said, her hands shaking slightly. I scrolled down. My hands started shaking too. The first email was from Travis to Michelle, dated 6 weeks ago. "He's been taking the capsules regularly, no suspicion." Michelle's response? "Every morning with his vitamin shake. He thinks they're the herbal supplements you recommended. Says he's feeling more energetic lately. Ironic, isn't it?" Travis: "Good. Dr. Williams confirmed the timeline. Another 8 to 10 weeks at this dosage and it'll look completely natural. Heart failure. No one will question it, especially given his age and the stress from the business expansion discussions." Michelle: "And you're certain about the dosage? I can't have him getting sick and going to a hospital before, you know." Travis: "I'm certain. I've done the research. This is pharmaceutical-grade digoxin, not some amateur poison. The beauty is that it mimics heart disease symptoms perfectly. Fatigue, irregular heartbeat, some nausea, all completely explainable for a 63-year-old man who's been pushing himself too hard. By the time anyone thinks to test for it, it'll be too late to matter. I barely made it out of the car before I threw up in the bushes beside the driveway." Digoxin. I knew that word. My mother had taken it for her heart condition before she died, but in the wrong doses, in someone who didn't need it, it was deadly. "Where did you find this?" I managed to ask, wiping my mouth with my handkerchief. "Michelle's laptop," Patricia said. She was crying now, silent tears running down her face. I went inside to use the bathroom. Her laptop was open on the bed in the master bedroom. I wasn't snooping Bradley, I swear, but I saw Travis's name in the email. Preview, and I had a feeling. Call it woman's intuition. "There has to be some explanation," I said, even as I knew there wasn't. My voice sounded hollow, even to my own ears. "Maybe they're talking about someone else. Maybe it's research for something." "Keep reading," Patricia said softly. I scrolled further down the thread. There were dozens of emails spanning weeks, planning, calculating, discussing details. My daughter and her husband methodically planning my death like they were organizing a vacation. Michelle: "Once Dad's gone, Kevin will be devastated. He'll probably move back from Vancouver, or at least visit more often. We can manage him then, make sure he doesn't ask too many questions about the finances." Travis: "The estate is $12 million after the business sale discussions conclude, correct? Split between you and your brother. That's $6 million for you. But if we play this right, we can contest Kevin's share. He's been distant, barely involved with the family. Business operations. We can argue undue influence or even mental incompetence on your father's part when he drafted the will. Michelle, Kevin won't fight us hard. He's too passive, too focused on his engineering work. And if he does try to fight it, we'll drag it out in court until he settles for much less than half. Travis, perfect. The cottage renovation will cost at least $400,000 if we do it right. Then we can finally get that boat I've been wanting, the 45-footer we looked at in Toronto. And we'll need capital fast once we get the insurance money too. Michelle, the life insurance alone is $2 million, plus the business assets, the real estate holdings, his investment portfolio. Travis will be set for life. Travis, your father worked hard to build all this. It's only fair that it should go to someone who can really appreciate it and use it properly. My daughter, my little girl, who I'd taught to drive stick shift in the parking lot behind my first store, who'd cried on my shoulder when her first boyfriend broke up with her, who'd walked down the aisle holding my arm just 3 years ago. She was killing me for money. The words on the screen blurred as tears filled my eyes. I handed the phone back to Patricia, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. "We need to call the police," Patricia said, her voice barely above a whisper. "And tell them what? That we read some emails? They'll say it's a domestic dispute, that we're overreacting. Michelle and Travis will delete everything and will look like paranoid old fools. Then what do? I thought for a moment, trying to push through the fog of betrayal and shock. 35 years of running a business had taught me something about crisis management. You don't react emotionally, you plan. We need proof, real, undeniable proof. Bradley, you've been taking those capsules every morning for 6 weeks. We need to get you to a hospital. Not yet. If I show up at emergency claiming I've been poisoned, they'll know we're onto them. We need to be smart about this." I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "But you're right about one thing. I need to know how bad this is." I called my lawyer, Mitchell Barnes, from the car. He'd handled my business affairs for 20 years, helped me through the incorporation of the stores, the expansion, Susan's estate planning. I trusted him completely. "Mitchell, I need your help, and I need your discretion." "What's going on, Bradley?" "You sound terrible." I explained everything, reading him parts of the emails Patricia had photographed. To his credit, Mitchell didn't waste time with disbelief or questions about whether I was sure. He just shifted into problem-solving mode, the same way he handled complex business deals. "First thing, get to my office. I have a doctor friend who makes house calls, very discreet, Dr. Angela Thompson. She'll do blood work without filing any reports. We need to know what we're dealing with medically. Then we build a case. But Bradley, if you've been taking digoxin for 6 weeks, we need to make sure you're not in immediate danger. That's priority 1. We drove straight to Mitchell's office in downtown Toronto, an hour and a half from Muskoka. During the drive, I kept thinking about the morning routine Michelle had established for me. 6 months ago, right after I'd started talking about maybe selling 1 or 2 of the stores and taking things easier, she'd shown up at my house with a bottle of capsules. "Dad, Travis recommended these," she'd said, giving me that bright smile that had always melted my heart. "They're a special herbal supplement blend, really good for energy and heart health. You should take 2 every morning with your protein shake." I'd been touched by her concern. Since Susan died, Michelle had been the one checking on me, calling to make sure I was eating properly, encouraging me to take better care of myself. Or so I thought. I texted Michelle that I wasn't feeling well, that Patricia and I had left the memorial early. She responded immediately. "Oh no, what's wrong? Do you need anything? Should I come over?" The concern in her message made me want to vomit again. How could someone sound so caring while plotting your death? Dr. Thompson met us at Mitchell's office. She was a woman in her 50s, calm and professional, with the kind of bedside manner that immediately put you at ease. She drew blood, checked my heart rate and blood pressure, asked detailed questions about my symptoms over the past 6 weeks. "Headaches?" she asked, making notes on her tablet. "Yes. I thought it was just stress from some of the business decisions I've been considering. Nausea, sometimes in the mornings. Any changes in your vision? Seeing yellow or green halos around lights?" I stopped. "Actually, yes. The vision thing. I thought I needed new glasses. And, yeah, I've been feeling nauseous some mornings, but I figured it was just getting older." Dr. Thompson looked at Mitchell, then back at me. Those are classic symptoms of digoxin toxicity. Mr. Morrison, based on what you've told me about these emails and your symptoms, I'd say you've definitely been ingesting something you shouldn't be. I'll have the lab results by tomorrow morning, but I'm already concerned. How dangerous is this? Patricia asked, her voice cracking with emotion. Digoxin toxicity is very serious. It's a medication that affects your heart rhythm in precise therapeutic doses, but it has a very narrow margin between therapeutic and toxic levels. In the doses it sounds like you've been taking, Mr. Morrison, we're talking about a drug that could cause arrhythmia, heart attack, or cardiac arrest. The fact that you're experiencing symptoms means you're already at a concerning level. Can you help him? Yes, but he'll need chelation therapy to remove the digoxin from his system, and he absolutely must stop taking those capsules immediately. I already threw them out, Patricia said firmly. Every single one, before we even left Muskoka. That night, Patricia and I stayed at the Sheraton instead of going to my house. I didn't trust being in my own space. Didn't trust that Michelle or Travis might show up, wondering why I'd left the memorial so abruptly. Mitchell arranged for security, 2 former police officers who took shifts watching our hotel floor. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Michelle as a little girl, 7 years old, gap-toothed, climbing into my lap to read stories before bed. 15, crying because some boy at school had been cruel to her. 23, graduating from university with honors in accounting, so proud when she landed her first job at the firm downtown. Where had I gone wrong? You didn't, Patricia whispered from the chair by the window. She was keeping watch, wouldn't let me stay alone. You were a good father, Bradley. You gave her everything she needed. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I gave her too much. Maybe I made things too easy. For her. Don't do that to yourself. You gave both your kids the same opportunities, the same love. Kevin turned out fine. Kevin, my son, living in Vancouver, working as a civil engineer on some big infrastructure project. We drifted apart over the years, mostly due to distance and my focus on keeping the business running after Susan died. But he was a good man. Honest, hard-working. He'd never... Should we tell Kevin? I asked. Not yet. Let's deal with this first. He doesn't need to know his sister is trying to kill his father until we know how we're going to handle it. Dr. Thompson called the next morning at 7 a.m. Mr. Morrison, I have your lab results. Your digoxin levels are dangerously elevated. You have approximately 10 times the therapeutic dose in your system. If you'd continued taking those capsules for another month as they planned, you would have died. It would have looked exactly like heart failure. The reality hit me like a physical blow. My daughter had been killing me slowly, methodically, day by day, watching me decline and pretending to be concerned about my health. There's more, Dr. Thompson continued. I analyzed one of the capsules Patricia saved from your medicine cabinet. It's not just digoxin. There's also a small amount of a beta blocker mixed in. That's actually quite clever. The beta blocker would mask some of the early warning symptoms of digoxin toxicity. You would have felt tired and weak, but not sick enough to seek immediate medical attention. Travis, I said. He's a pharmaceutical sales rep. He would know exactly how to do this. Mitchell joined us at the hotel with a private investigator named Jeremy Walsh. Jeremy was a man in his early 50s, gray-haired and professional-looking, the kind of guy who blended into any crowd. He'd been a detective with Toronto police for 25 years before starting his own agency. I've dealt with cases like this before, Jeremy said, settling into the hotel room chair. Not many, thankfully, but enough to know how to proceed. First question, and I need you to think carefully about this. Do you want your daughter to go to prison? The question hung in the air like smoke. Patricia started crying again, quiet tears that she tried to wipe away quickly. I don't know, I said honestly. Part of me wants justice. I want them to pay for what they did, for what they were planning to do. But she's my daughter. I understand. But you need to prepare yourself, Bradley. If we pursue this legally, and I think we should, Michelle will face serious charges. Attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder. She's looking at significant prison time. And if we don't pursue it, then she gets away with trying to kill you. And who's to say she won't try again? Or try with someone else? People who are capable of this level of premeditation don't usually stop at one attempt. Jeremy was right. I knew he was right. And there was something else. If Michelle could do this to me, her own father, what might she do to Kevin when his time came? Or to anyone else who stood between her and money she wanted? What do? We need more evidence. The emails are good, but a decent defense lawyer could argue they were taken out of context, that they were just dark jokes in poor taste, that kind of thing. We need to catch them in the act, get them to incriminate themselves further. How? Jeremy smiled, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt a flicker of hope. We're going to give them exactly what they want. Bradley, you're going to get very sick very quickly, and we're going to see how your daughter and son-in-law respond. The plan was risky, but straightforward. Dr. Thompson would monitor me closely while I pretended to experience a health crisis. We'd see if Michelle and Travis tried to prevent me from getting real medical help, or if they tried to accelerate my decline somehow. Every interaction would be recorded, but first, we needed to secure the evidence we already had. Mitchell filed a motion with the Ontario Superior Court for an emergency order to preserve Michelle's electronic devices and communications. He argued that there was evidence of a conspiracy to commit murder, and that without immediate court intervention, that evidence might be destroyed. The judge, Justice Karen Williams, reviewed the emails and camera behind closed doors. 2 hours later, she issued the preservation order. That afternoon, the police executed a search warrant at Michelle and Travis's house in Mississauga. They seized laptops, phones, tablets, anything that could contain electronic communications. Michelle called me hysterical within the hour. "Dad, the police are here. They're taking everything. Our computers, our phones, everything. They won't tell me why. What's happening? Do you know anything about this?" It took everything in me not to scream at her, not to ask her how she could sound so concerned while she'd been slowly murdering me for weeks. Instead, I kept my voice steady and said, "I don't know, sweetheart. Have they arrested anyone?" "No, but they're treating us like criminals." Travis is furious. He's pacing around outside yelling at them. "Dad, can you help? Can you call someone? Maybe Mitchell knows what this is about. I'll see what I can find out." I hung up and immediately felt sick again. Patricia was watching me, her face pale with disgust. "I can't believe she called you for help," she said. "After what she's done, she's asking you to fix her problems. She doesn't know that we know. She still thinks she's fooled us completely." The next phase of Jeremy's plan began immediately. Dr. Thompson had me stop the chelation therapy temporarily, and I genuinely started feeling worse again. The digoxin was still in my system, still affecting my heart. It wasn't safe, but it was necessary for what we were trying to accomplish. I called Michelle the following evening. "I'm not feeling well," I said, letting my voice sound weak and shaky. "Really not well? Chest pains, trouble breathing?" "Oh my God, Dad. You need to go to the hospital right away. I don't want to make a fuss. Maybe I'll just rest for a few days." "No, you should definitely see a doctor." Her concern sounded so genuine, so loving. For a moment, I almost wondered if we were wrong about everything. Then she said, "Actually, why don't you come stay with us for a few days? I can keep an eye on you, make sure you're eating properly and taking your supplements." There it was. She wanted me back under her control, back where she could continue giving me the capsules that were killing me. "That's thoughtful, honey, but I think I just need some rest at home. Dad, I really think you should let me take care of you. Patricia must be worried sick too. Just come stay with us, maybe in a few days." I hung up. Jeremy, who'd been listening on speaker, nodded approvingly. "She's trying to regain access to you. That's excellent evidence of intent." Over the next week, Michelle called constantly. She offered to bring me food, to drive me to doctor appointments, to bring me those supplements that have been helping so much with your energy. Each conversation was recorded with legal authorization under Ontario's one-party consent laws. Meanwhile, the forensic analysis of the seized devices was revealing a treasure trove of evidence. Jeremy showed me printouts of hundreds of searches on Travis's laptop. Undetectable poisons, digoxin overdose symptoms, how to avoid murder charges, contesting a will in Ontario, inheritance law Canada. The text messages between Michelle and Travis were even more damning. Michelle: "He sounds really sick on the phone. Maybe we should back off for a bit, let him recover some." Travis: "Are you kidding? We're so close to the finish line. Once the will is read and probated, we need to move fast on Kevin's share. I've already talked to 3 different lawyers about contest strategies. Michelle, I feel guilty listening. To him, struggle to breathe. Travis, you'll feel a lot better when we're on our new boat next summer. Remember why we're doing this. We deserve this money more than Kevin does. Your father worked hard, but we're the ones who appreciate what that money can do. The most damning evidence came from Travis's phone photo gallery. He'd been photographing the capsules he prepared, apparently keeping detailed records of dosages and dates. Jeremy found a folder with over 40 photos, each image carefully labeled with a date and notation like morning dose, 0.5 milligrams, or increased to 0.75 milligrams. He documented his own crime, Mitchell said when we reviewed the evidence. I've never seen anything this stupid in 30 years of practice. Why would he keep records like this? I asked. Arrogance, Jeremy replied. He's a pharmaceutical sales rep. He thought he was smart enough to get away with it, scientific enough to do it perfectly. Didn't occur to him that anyone would ever look at his phone. 2 weeks after the initial discovery, the Crown Attorney's Office laid formal charges: attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and fraud over $5,000 for Michelle. For Travis, the same charges plus unauthorized possession of prescription drugs and administering a noxious substance. The arrests happened at dawn on a Tuesday. I wasn't there. I was still staying at the hotel under protective watch. But Jeremy described it to me later. Michelle screamed that it was all a mistake, that we'd set them up somehow. Travis tried to run when he saw the police cars, made it as far as the backyard before the officers tackled him in the garden. The preliminary hearing was 3 months later. Patricia and I sat in the public gallery as the Crown Attorney methodically presented the evidence: the emails, the photographs, the text messages, the forensic analysis of the capsules, Dr. Thompson's testimony about my dangerously elevated digoxin levels, Jeremy's testimony about the investigation process. Michelle wouldn't look at me during the proceedings. She sat at the defense table in a conservative gray suit, staring straight ahead like she was watching a movie about someone else's life. Travis kept whispering urgently to his lawyer, gesturing and looking angry. When it was my turn to testify, I had to describe taking the capsules every morning for months. How Michelle had given them to me, said they were special herbal supplements that Travis recommended for men my age. How she'd call regularly to make sure I was taking them, always sounding so concerned about my health and well-being. Mr. Morrison, the Crown Attorney asked, did you have any suspicion that your daughter was trying to harm you? No, never. She's my daughter. I trusted her completely with my life. And if your assistant hadn't discovered those emails, what do you believe would have happened? I looked directly at Michelle for the first time during the hearing. She was crying silently, mascara running down her cheeks. I think I'd be dead. The defense tried to argue that the emails were taken out of context, that maybe Travis had been researching digoxin for legitimate work purposes, that the photographs were innocent. But the evidence was overwhelming. Michelle and Travis were bound over for trial. Bail was set at $500,000 each, with strict conditions, including no contact with me or Patricia. They couldn't make bail. They'd already spent too much money planning their future with my inheritance money. The trial took place the following spring and lasted 3 weeks. The jury deliberated for 6 hours, guilty on all counts. At sentencing, Justice Williams was harsh in her judgment. This was a calculated, premeditated attempt to murder a parent for financial gain. You betrayed the most fundamental bond of trust between parent and child. The court finds no mitigating factors whatsoever. Michelle got 22 years. Travis got 25 because of his pharmaceutical knowledge and his role in actually preparing the poison. Michelle finally looked at me as they led her away in handcuffs. I'm sorry, Daddy, she mouthed through her tears. I didn't respond. I just took Patricia's hand and we left the courtroom together. Kevin flew in from Vancouver the day after sentencing. We met at a quiet restaurant downtown, the first time we'd really talked in over a year. When I explained everything that had happened, he went completely pale. She tried to kill you. Our sister tried to murder you for money. And apparently, she was planning to contest your inheritance too. Kevin pushed his untouched sandwich away. I don't understand it, Dad. We had the same childhood, the same opportunities, the same parents. Why would she become this person? I've asked myself that same question every day for the past year, son. I don't have an answer. I should have been around more. Maybe if I'd stayed closer to home, I would have seen something was wrong. This isn't your fault, Kevin. This is on Michelle and Travis. They made their choices. Kevin moved back from Vancouver 6 months later. We're working together now, expanding the business in ways I never imagined. He's got fresh ideas and modern approaches that complement my old school methods perfectly. We've opened 2 new locations and we're considering a third. Patricia got promoted to general manager. She more than deserved it after literally saving my life. I'm 65 now. Dr. Thompson says the prolonged digoxin exposure caused some permanent damage to my heart muscle. I take real medication daily, prescribed by real doctors this time, and I get tired more easily than I used to. But I'm alive, and that's something I never take for granted. Sometimes, usually late at night when I can't sleep, I wonder what I did wrong as a father. Was I too generous, too trusting? Did I give Michelle everything she wanted without making her work for it? Did I somehow teach her that she was entitled to things she hadn't earned? But then I look at Kevin, working beside me every day, treating customers with respect, building something honest and sustainable. Same upbringing, same opportunities, same father, different choices. Michelle will be eligible for parole in 11 years. She'll be in her early 40s then, still young enough to rebuild some kind of life. I don't know what kind of person she'll be when she gets out. I don't know if we'll ever speak again or if I'd even want to. But I do know this. I survived. Against my daughter's carefully planned murder scheme, against the poison that was slowly destroying my heart, against the betrayal that should have crushed my spirit completely. I survived, and I'm using the time I have left, however much that might be, to build something good and honest with the child who chose integrity over easy money. That's really all any of us can do. Survive the betrayals, learn from them, and try to leave something better behind for the people who come after us. Even when the people who hurt us most are the ones we love the most, especially then. Trust is the most dangerous gift you can give someone because the people closest to you know exactly where to aim the knife. But it's also the only way to build anything meaningful in this life. Money doesn't corrupt people. It just reveals who they really were underneath all along. And sometimes the most painful lesson is learning that love was never enough to change someone's true character.